Good evening. Could you please take your seats, find your way to a seat? Okay, I think we'll get this started. I'd like to have you all stand up to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item I'd like to mention, if anybody's got cell phones on, if you could put them on silent, please. Greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Hartland and said county, qualified by law to vote in town fairs, to meet and assemble at the Irving Tanning Community Center, 62 Elm Street in said town, on Monday, June 3rd, 2019 AD at 6:30 p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. Article 1, to elect a moderator. Is there? I have one nomination for Henry Clausen. Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Okay, do we have a second? Could we have a second for Debbie Cooper? Okay, do we have any other nominations?
I move the nomination, please.
Thank you. So by show of hands, I need to see how many would like to have Henry Clausen. Keep them up. Okay, put them down. We have to have you raise them again. By show of hands, can I see who would like to have Debbie Cooper? Henry Clausen would be your chosen one. Henry, are you available?
who I thought he was.
I, Henry Clausen, do swear that I support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof. I, Henry Clausen, do swear that I faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent me on as a moderator of this meeting according to the Constitution and the law of the state. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thank you very much for having me back to the beautiful town of Hartland. I'm just sorry that it's probably the nicest day we've had all year, and we're all sitting in this gymnasium. But hopefully we won't be here all night. Those of you who saw me at the town meeting we had just a few weeks ago, I gave a few ground rules, and I thought I'd just go over those again because I could see there's more people here than there were at the actual town meeting. So I just thought I'd introduce myself a little bit and try and set the stage for tonight. So my name is Henry Clausen. For those of you who don't know me, I am a resident of the town of Reedfield, just outside Augusta. I've moderated many meetings throughout the state, and always enjoy coming up here to Hartland. I'm a neutral party. I have no voting authority on the matters before you this evening, and I'm completely impartial to which way the vote goes. My job is simply to facilitate this meeting impartially, promoting cooperation, harmony, fairness, and above all else, civic behavior, and to get us out of here before midnight. We are here to address and only address the posted warrant before you. There were some handouts in the doorway. This is the warrant. You should all have a copy of it. In addition to the warrant, there was a resolution document. You guys got that? And there's also a special town meeting chart of some kind, tax chart. 3 pieces of paper. If you don't have them, there should be still some over there in the corner. So, right? So if you don't have one, feel free just to get up right now before we get going and go grab one. You can, but can I get through my thing first, and then you can do exactly that. Great. There are 179 voters in the room tonight. That's a great number. So as I said, we're here to address the warrant. So that means save your other ideas, verbal harpoons for another night. We really want to focus on the topic that's before you tonight, which is the landfill. If we get off track, my job is to keep things moving along, and we'll keep things as civil as possible. There may be moments when you want to publicly voice your opinion or have a question about an article listened tonight, and this is encouraged in this perhaps the purest form of democracy. You all have equal rights, and while the majority vote always wins, any minority in this room tonight has equal right to be heard in this forum. That is the great thing about this methodology of government. So, state law requires me to tell you 4 things about me and tonight. No one can speak unless I recognize you to speak. They all sound a bit harsh, but it's not law. I have to tell you what it is. You will be silent when I command you to be silent, whether individually or as a group. But I promise you will be listening. If you are a non-voter, in this town, you cannot speak unless 2/3 of this room decides that you can speak. So if you want to say something, that's fine, but we have to take a vote before you speak. And people may or may not decide they want to hear from you. And the fourth thing is, when we actually vote, if you feel that I got the vote count wrong or the result wrong of the vote, you can challenge me on that vote to make sure it's right. And I promise you we will get it correct or corrected. So it's a simple process, and I'm sure everybody in here, or at least most people in here, have been through this before. I propose an article, it gets moved, it gets seconded by one of you, and then we discuss it if you want to discuss it. And in some cases, you can amend the article. I can help you through that process if you want to do that. We then vote on the article, and you all have cards. What color cards do you have tonight? You have orange cards tonight, so you all have your orange cards. When we vote, you need to raise those cards, or there's other ways we may be voting as well. But the cards are usually the way we do it. I then announce the result, the clerk records the result, and it becomes the rule. When we do the public comment period or questions, here's how it's going to work. You're going to raise your hand. I will recognize you, and there may be lots of people wanting to speak, but I'll try and balance it out. If you can, please stand. There is a microphone in a better location than it was at the town meeting, but it's in the back this time, so you don't have to navigate through all the people. State your name. Direct your comment or question to me. And I may ask somebody else to help answer that question if I can't answer it. Like your town manager or members of your select board or others, depending on what the question is. Please speak clearly in your own words. Don't bring a giant speech up. No PowerPoint presentations. This is not the forum to do that. This is the forum for public comment or question, not for grandstanding. I may politely cut you off if you get off track or you exceed a reasonable amount of time. Since there's almost 180 people in this room that are voters, we have to give everybody equal time. So probably a couple of minutes max, maybe 3 minutes. So when you come up to speak or you come up with a question, just keep that in the back of your mind that we want to limit that. This is not a courtroom, although many people would like it to be. It's not a courtroom. And what I mean by that is, cross-examination is not tolerated. This is not a back and forth about your comment. People can't comment and then re-comment. And that's not the place. That's not how this works. Basically, you're allowed to comment, make your position known to the rest of the body, and that's it. And because of the number of people here tonight, we're going to start out with the rule that you only speak once per article, because otherwise nobody else will speak. If the rest of the room decides that you can speak twice, that's fine too. You're welcome to come back up and speak if nobody else wants to speak and there seems to be reason for you to speak. So, I think that's the ground rules. So, we'll keep going a little bit here and a couple more things. So, without objection, we'll be guided by the main moderator's manual in supervising this meeting. This is a set of rules that sort of talks about parliamentary procedure and any kind of voting requirements and things like that. Very common things done in special town meetings all over the state. Anybody object to that? Seems pretty straightforward. Usually would say to waive the article reading, but since you've only got 4 articles, I'll just read them because they're not that long. So skip that tonight. So turning to the warrant, I'll just introduce the warrant. Yes, you can make a motion, but I was just going to introduce this first. Can I just do that, and then you can. I'm sorry.
I thought we were reading the article.
No, I'm not going to read the articles. I'm not going to read them. Not yet. I'm not there yet. So the warrant, has everybody read the warrant? I read the warrant, and here's my 1-minute summary of the warrant, or less. Basically, you're voting tonight whether to, in which direction you'd like your landfill to go in its operation in your town. And both these paths kind of lead the same way. They lead the same way in a different method. So one method is through a citizen's petition, which you can see there in Article 3. And the other one is, I assume, the Board of Selectmen's perspective and position, which is Article 2. So one is one way and one is the other way. and we can read that language. And so that's what we're doing. That's it. The fourth article appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Town Manager, the fourth article appears to me that it's if needed. So if Article 3 passes, then we got to do Article 4. If Article 3 doesn't pass, then we don't have to do it.
That's going to happen.
Okay, is that right? Okay. Great. Let's get going.
I make a motion to vote tonight to be by written ballot.
Okay, there's a motion. Sorry, there's a motion and a second before we start to that the votes tonight be by written ballot. So that means you're not going to use your cards. You can do that. So we have to vote on whether you agree with that or not. So I'm going to now ask all those in favor of doing a written ballot tonight, which we will provide you, to raise your card. Those in favor, if you want a written ballot, you don't have to. If you want a written ballot,
What's that?
raise them high. Awesome. Okay, those that do not want a written ballot. Okay, so we will not do a written ballot. It was 2/3 at least to a third. So that motion does not pass. So let's start off. Article 2. We just go in order because that's the way they're written. Article 2, Board of Selectmen alternative article. Shall the voters of the town of Hartland approve the resolution of the Board of Selectmen entitled Board Resolution to Optimize the Solid Waste Management Plan to Fund Landfill Closure, and direct the board and its advisors to prepare future plans that include a landfill capacity plan, a closure plan, and a funding plan. Those plans will be presented to the public for review and action by the next regular town meeting or a special town meeting to be called by the Board of Selectmen once the town manager reports that these specific plans are ready for review and approval by the town. And this is your resolution document. So it's referring to a board resolution. That's this other document that you have, which is basically sort of a list of understandings about that.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. And a second. Discussion. Oh, there you are. Yes, ma'am.
We'll start now.
First, I'd like to say that even Hartland residents have a right to fresh air and a clean environment. If you vote tonight to keep the landfill open for another 30 years, you will be saying, I am okay with bringing in another 30 years worth of pollution into our town, stacking up tons and tons of waste that contain all kinds of toxins. If you vote tonight to keep the landfill open for another 30 years, you will be saying, I'm okay with continuing to ruin many of my fellow citizens' quality of life. I don't care that they can't enjoy their homes. I don't care that they have to endure horrible smells and breathe in the pollution that the waste leaves here. If you vote tonight to keep the landfill open for another 30 years, you will be saying, I'm okay with continuing to risk our health and damage our environment. If you vote tonight to keep the landfill open for another 30 years, you will be saying, I want to postpone the inevitable closure, leaving this mess for my children and grandchildren to deal with. As long as I can save some money on my taxes today, I'm good with all these things. We are at a pivotal moment in our town's history. The decision we make tonight can affect the citizens for many years. We have a perfect opportunity because the cellar that is now open is reaching capacity. So we need to decide, do we cut our losses now and bite the bullet on a possible, in my opinion, small tax increase considering the alternative, and close the landfill for good, thereby reducing the risk to health and the environment? Or do we keep the landfill open and continue supporting a failing project? We know that we will never make enough money to completely pay for the closure of the landfill, even if we keep it open for 1,000,000 years, because the longer we keep it open, the more it's going to cost to close it. Chris will stipulate that he could make $16 million if he keeps the landfill open. However, by 2039, it will probably cost 20 to 30 million to close it. Who in their right mind would continue a business knowing that it will never show a profit and the only goal would be to make enough money to eventually close it? It makes no sense. Ask yourselves, will we ever reduce taxes by keeping the landfill open? The answer is no. But if we vote tonight to close the landfill, we are saying, I am tired of being exploited by industries that don't want to deal with their own waste. Industries that won't think twice if they wanted to leave. We have already been burnt twice by Tasman's predecessor, and we are being very naive if we think they wouldn't do the same thing if they had to. If we vote to close the landfill tonight, we are saying, I am tired of being a dumping site for other communities. I want to start to clean up our town, and not just by planting some flowers, but by doing something substantial, by making a positive change in this town. As long as I can remember, the cost to close the landfill has been looming over the town. How will we ever pay for it? Well, now that we have the figures, and we know how we will pay for it, it doesn't seem so insurmountable to me. We increased the municipal budget by $75,000 last year, and the taxes didn't go up.
I'm going to give you another minute. There's clearly people.
Okay.
Yep.
But how come now, if we're increasing the budget by $48,000, which is a payment, are they saying the taxes are going to go up? It doesn't make much sense. One of the signs of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So let's do something different here tonight and vote to close the landfill so this town can move on. Don't forget that the people, and please remember that we can't put a price on health and a clean environment.
Thanks. Is your comment for or against?
It's against.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to speak for it? For the article? For the article? Okay. I'll try to get opposing. You can go next, and I'll try to do one, then the other. Right?
I hadn't planned on speaking tonight.
What's your name? Sorry, can you just state your name?
Yeah, I was going to. My name is Shannon Cooper,
Okay.
and I live right across from the annex. And I sat here tonight, and I look at the community, and I'm very much somebody who's about the community and about the kids and about health. And my health hasn't been good now since I moved to Hartland. And I look at people laughing about people who are concerned about everyone's health. This is a community matter, and somebody caring is not funny, and I don't disrespect my peers in the community. So I don't understand why there has to be a great disrespect here. People who don't live next to the annex.
Are you for the landfill or against the motion? That's what I was trying to ask. I thought you said you were for the motion.
I would like to see the landfill closed down sooner than later.
Okay, well, that would be against the motion, right?
Right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sooner than later.
that's okay.
Just because it is inevitable, either way you look at it. But I would also like to see people not snicker and laugh at others who are just trying to get their point across in a civil manner.
Okay, thanks. I'm just reading the article, and again, I'm impartial, I'm just reading the article. The article does talk about, the resolution does talk about closure, so it is moving to closure in this article. It's not like it's not going to be closed. It would appear that you have to develop plans to do it. There's lots of regulation about that. It's in an orderly way, so that's what this is saying.
And I'm very educated, so I can follow this,
Okay, great.
and I have been.
Great.
And I also live it because I'm right across the street. So I've been affected.
Okay, thanks. Other comments or questions? Yeah, you had your hand up.
Hi, I'm Sandy Brown. I live in Hartland. I've been hearing about the closure of this landfill for it's almost 2 years now. And I don't understand why they have to close something that's a benefit to this community and to a factory like Tasman. It's not Tasman's fault that, you know, people are getting sick that are living near it. It's not fair that the taxpayers have to pay higher taxes because people in the town want to, you know, certain people want to close. It's not fair. I don't want to see it closed no more than the next person. Or no more than, I don't want to see taxes go up or water bills go up. You know? And that's why I don't want to see it closed. That's where I stand in all this.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other comments that are different than those comments? Yes, sir.
I'm against it, won't vote,
It's okay.
but you know. My name is Dana Cooper, and I was superintendent of that wastewater treatment plant for 16 years. When I was down there, the laws were set by the DEP that the sludge that went to that landfill had to have a pH of 12, hold that pH for at least 24 hours, not dropping below 11.5. The solids had to be 40% before they went up there. Because of the line and everything that we added to get that is why there was no odor. Now we're taking sludge from Brewer that I can guarantee you isn't 20% solids with no lime in it. And this is just not right. The lime also, keeping the pH up there, keeps the rats and all those rodents out of that sludge because they won't burrow in it with the pH that high. And also kills the pathogens. And I think you need to think about it. If you're going to do this thing, then you need to do it right, not the way it's being done now.
Okay, thank you. A couple more folks in the back here. Yes, ma'am. I see you right there. Are you a voter?
I am.
Okay, great. I couldn't see your card there hiding in the... Sorry.
My name is Gail Reed. Sorry. I actually didn't plan on speaking at all tonight, but as you all know, it's been a long winter and an even longer spring. And I want to be able to go outside on the deck, take a nice big breath of fresh, sunny air. And we can't do that on this here way. You can't. I guess I don't know all the ins and outs, so you have to forgive me. But if we're using this landfill to make money, we're missing the mark. There's a ton of other ways to make money. We live in vacation land. We have 2 ponds in this town, no beachfront. Look at the money we're missing from getting even out-of-staters to come in. Do you want them to come in and take a nice deep breath and say, sure, I'd like to buy a house here? We're losing business every other way. So if it's up to us, and you're going to lay the tax burden on the taxpayers to close the landfill, I think we need to go in another direction. There's other ways to make money that would cover the cost. We just haven't found it yet. But if we all get together, there's other ways to do it so that it doesn't cost the taxpayers to close the landfill. But I'll tell you what, I can't invite anybody up here to have a cookout. And if you don't live anywhere near it, you can't say anything. Because I've got up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's nasty. It's the worst thing ever. So if you don't live there, you really don't know. Come on up. I invite you to come up, and you'll see. It has not been as bad this year as it was last year. I will say that. But more needs to be done. It needs to be gone.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I saw you.
My name is Tim Davis. I live right here in the center of Hartland, and yes, I am a voter. A lot of this seems to be around the dump and the tax and the cost of, but there's a lot of health risk behind this as well. Now, I haven't heard anybody mention a Superfund site. Why is this calling on taxpayers to close this down? Why aren't we going after getting a grant from the federal government to have it closed? Why is it falling on taxpayers as always? Look at Hartland. It's a relatively poor community. I mean, so many of the houses, they've already been in foreclosures. I mean, come on. Enough is enough. I mean, you're saying that the people just around the dump? I mean, look at articles that are printed in the papers. Go online, do your research. I mean, it goes well beyond just that section. I smell it here in the center of town. So that's really all I gotta say is, I mean, every time something goes wrong, it falls on the taxpayer. And we can't keep affording every time something goes wrong, our taxes go up. Thank you.
Thanks. By the way, I'm not looking at my watch out of rudeness. I'm just trying to keep track of who's speaking and what time.
No, I said what I need to say.
I have to track who's speaking. Anybody want to comment on any of those other comments or in favor of the article? Yes, sorry, no, you don't want to talk about it? No, you do want to talk about it.
I just want to thank everybody first for coming out tonight, because I know from having been at town meetings many years, this is a much, I could say I'm Stacy Halford, sorry, much larger group, and I would like to see this group come out to all of the town meetings and be involved. And I think everybody's going to have to vote as they feel appropriate tonight, and there's pros and cons to both sides. I can say from personal knowledge, I know why the landfill, which is our second landfill in town. Originally, they called the other location the dump. But then before it closed the last number of years, it was called the landfill. So I grew up next to that first place. I understand more than these people do living there for 35 years for smells and different effects that were done and stuff. And I can say that wholeheartedly, I've had cancer, and I will not blame that landfill that I grew up next to as having caused my cancer. I cannot say that it did, neither could they say that any of my family members. Their illnesses, as we age, illnesses come up. I do not want to see people have illnesses put onto them. There have been proven things from other places. I don't think we should bring it on. However, I do know that this was started in good faith. It was not started with intent. They had no idea that it was going to run downhill and different things. I think we need to forget. 2 years ago, there was a town meeting on a Saturday. I think less than 20 people attended that event, and then Chris did talk to us about not to make money for the town, but to put aside money for the eventual closure of the landfill, taking in sludge. We did agree that he could pursue looking into it. I think personally at this point, he's looked into it, he's tried it, that part failed. So I think we need to finish our contract with Brewer and not move forward with Brewer. But I think we can move towards future things in a more financial means than just jumping off the bridge in one lump sum. Everybody's got to vote their health, their conscience tonight, and whether they decide that the closure's right for tonight or the closure's right for working on this project and move forward. And I commit that I'll work on whatever project you guys might have. I invite all the rest of you to show up to the regular town meetings.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the article itself? Or, there's been a lot of comments about the environment. There's been a lot of comments about, indirectly about money. Does anybody have any questions about those things? How it will be funded? How it will be, what's going on environmentally? Any questions? So you got a question or a comment? Question, great. I'm just trying to make sure it's very clear for everybody. So. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sherry.
I might not be able to answer your question, but I'm going to.
That's fine, that's fine. I'm Sherry Gilbert, and I'm totally for keeping the landfill open. I want it kept open. I babysit for my granddaughter. Her home is right in front of the landfill. I'm there every day for 8 hours a day. I don't see a head of smell. Very rarely do we smell anything. But my question is, what does the money that we're bringing in for the sludge and whatever is being brought in from Brewer and other places, does it pay for the maintenance, the upkeep, the monitoring, and all of that at this point?
No.
That's what I would like to know.
Good question. Would you like to try and answer that question? You okay if your town manager answers that question? I just don't know.
At this time, the landfill is standalone, meaning that the bills that are generated day to day are paid for by the facility. And there has been no taxation 2.5 years at this point in time. It is a self-operating, self-funded operation at this point. We have saved $275,000 for future closure expenses at this point. But the answer is, at this point in time, it's 100% paying for itself.
Okay, I have one more question for you, Chris, before you leave. Now, if the closure does happen, what is the big tax burden? I mean, does it fall completely on the people, I understand, but what is it like in monetary? How bad is it?
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll let them answer that.
So we prepared a statement here as an example about the impacts, and this is just for the payment to borrow the money, okay? The other impacts that are not captured in this statement that we have out there, this is called the chart of impact of the 1.85 mil increase. If you look down through it, depending on what your property value is, that will give you the idea of how much your taxes will increase for the payment to do the closure and to, strictly for the closure actually, that we're borrowing money. It's 3.12 million, 3.19 actually, on the sheet if you look at it. Okay, so for a $50,000 home in Hartland, it will cost $92.50. A $100,000 home would be approximately $185. Okay, if you jump down to a $400,000 home, it's $740. That's per year for a 20-year time frame, because we're going to borrow the money for 20 years. And the other part of that is there is no adjustment in here for going to Waste Management or Casella. We anticipate that would be around $125,000 to $150,000 approximately. That is a net change of about $70,000 because we already pay ourselves from the treatment plant to the landfill for the sludge that we're taking. So the net change is $70,000 there. That would get added on. And then there's still going to have to be some operations at the landfill that have to be done. And we didn't try to quantify it at this point in time. So if there is a vote, if the vote is a positive vote, obviously the operations continue to pay.
So since I'm the new guy here, that was good, but I'm still a little confused, so maybe I can just give you something more too, I don't know. So the sheet here, this sheet here, with the dollars per dollar per mil, that's if you borrow the money, or that's if you borrow the money. Okay, so if you borrow the money, then that's what the taxes, that's what you estimate the taxes are. Right, this is tied to the Article 4. Okay, I see what you're saying. So Article 2, how's Article 2 paid for? Oh, by the operations. Okay, got it. Oh, I see. So it's self-funded almost. Okay. So Article 2 is self-funded. You wouldn't have to borrow as much money. Does that make sense? Okay.
No.
I'm not wrong, right? That makes sense, right? Okay, good.
I think he's wrong, though.
Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Okay. That's clear as mud, right? Okay, good. A couple more comments yet? Yes, ma'am. Can you ask you to go to the mic? Can you walk to the mic, or is that hard? Too far. Okay. Speak loudly.
Okay. This 9250 or $50,000 home, is that per meal or the total?
That's the total. I can speak to that. That's the total increase per year. Yeah. So if your property is $50,000, you'll be paying about $100 more for 20 years. Okay, that's what it says. Yes, ma'am.
I think I can speak loud enough.
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear.
I've got a question to me, some stupid, but it's not going to be. It would help if Dane could answer this. We spoke of the lime level or products used to help keep that smell down. Does that mean if we increase that rate, the smell's down?
Say that, hold on, don't answer, sir.
Okay.
Can you just say that one more time?
He spoke on.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. He's talking about products. He had a question about products to use, like lime. Yep. Okay.
Understand that. Is that the same way as we're talking about this?
Okay, so she's asking, is there an analogy between, I'm just repeating it because they probably can't hear you. Right, so she's saying if the landfill smell is analogous to a pool, where you have to keep your chemicals in your pool to keep it clean, otherwise it gets all fouled up. Is that the same with the landfill? You have to keep applying chemicals, I assume it's lime, that's what he's referencing to, lime and other things, in order to keep it clean. Right, so you're saying it needs to already be mixed properly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Well, you already spoke. I'm not saying you can't speak again, but let's see what else there is. Is there anything else? Okay, we've got a couple more. And she had her hand up in the back here first, and then I'll come to you next, okay? Yep, oh, sorry, right there. I recognize you, but I didn't, you didn't see me.
Hello, my name is Heather Beeson. I've been a resident of Hartland for about 7 years. I just had a couple of questions as far as the regulations that they use for anything coming into the landfill. I don't know if anyone can speak to that, and who's overseeing those regulations and if they're being kept in check.
Okay.
No,
you can ask your questions. There are a couple people here that could answer those questions, and depending on the questions, I'll take it in that direction. So ask away.
Okay. And then to Chris or whoever could answer this, are there any future projections as far as the exponential amount of money it would take to wait and then close the landfill in 15, 20, 25 years? We kind of have the numbers for now, but if we were to wait, how high would that get? And Debbie mentioned some figures. I don't know how accurate those were.
Okay, and did you have a specific regulatory question, or just more of a general?
Just was keeping track of it, and if whatever brewer's bringing in are things being kept in check. Kept in check.
Okay.
As far as chemicals and whatever it is that needs to be used to keep things in balance.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris is going to answer those questions. Let's start answering those questions.
Yes, so we work with a consultant company called TRC out of Augusta, and they provide our day-to-day guidance on the operations. The DEP comes on a regular basis and does inspections, and they are the enforcement. And I can tell you at this point in time, we have had no violations since 2009. So there are no violations recorded on the site, and my goal would be to continue that long-term stretch of no violations. We follow the rules. We're pretty specific about following the rules, and frankly, I demand it, to be honest, when it comes to the environmental side. When you talk about projections, again, the whole purpose for trying to do this long-term, it has been projected that the closing costs, they're so far out there, it's hard to narrow it down. So I wouldn't want to stand here and take a guess at it today without the opening. We need to go through an opening phase we need to go through an operations phase and then a closure phase. So to sit here today and answer that would be premature. The projection is that we could in fact potentially take in a revenue of $16 million. Our long-term liability in today's dollars is projected to be around $7 million. In 15 years from now, could be more than that. But we also keep in mind we could earn more revenue than that as well. So the balancing act has to take place. We have been successful thus far running it standalone. If we shut it down, or the vote is tonight to shut it down on Article 3, then we are in fact forcing ourselves to go ahead and borrow money. So thus far we've been able to operate without borrowing money, pay the bills. Some months it is slim, I'm not going to lie. It is a challenge, but we have been able to do it, and I don't see any reason we can't continue that in the future.
Was that thorough enough? Okay, good. And there was somebody here, was it you? Okay. Are you a resident of town? Is it a voting citizen?
I am not.
Oh.
My name is Dana Callahan, and I work for Toxics Action Center. We're an environmental health organization, and I'm a resident of Portland, Maine.
Okay. So in order for, what's your first name again?
I'm also a Dana.
Oh, Dana, okay, great. In order for, can we call you Dana? In order for Dana to speak, the 2/3 of the room has to agree to have her speak. I know that seems a bit funny. 120 of you have to determine that. So we're going to ask for a vote. So I'm going to say, those of you in favor of having Dana speak, raise your cards. Hold them high and don't move them.
I got another hand available.
Those of you who do not wish to hear Dana speak, raise your cards. Not all of you voted.
So
what did you get? Okay, let's try that again. Those of you who want Dana to speak, raise your card. Actually, stand up. If you want Dana to speak, stand up.
Oh, check them though. You're short, people, you can't count.
All right.
Mr. Moderator.
75.
Mr. Moderator.
75 to 79.
Was
It's
it
not enough.
2/3 of the voters or 2/3?
I'm sorry?
2/3 of the voters was required?
Yes. You needed 120 votes to have Dana speak, and there was only 75 to 78, so it's not close. So I'm sorry, Dana, you can't speak.
Mr. Moderator,
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
motion to move the question.
Motion to move the question.
Second.
Second, all right. All right. So we're going to move the article. So what that means is on Article 2. So we're going to vote on Article 2. Okay, so this is the one that says on here, recommended by your select board here. It's the one to create the plan. And then we'll vote on Article 3 next time. Article 3, I haven't read it yet, but Article 3 is the next one. So Article 2. Yes, sir, you have a question?
I got one more question, if you don't mind.
Nope. You can't ask the question yet. We're going to move the article, okay?
Motion's been made and seconded.
Yeah.
I gotta say it again.
Indeed, we're going to vote. We're going to vote because the...
Okay, too late to ask the question, you know the deal?
And technically, yes. You can ask it after on the next article. Okay. Does everybody understand what they're voting for? So let's see, a yes vote, and I say, are you in favor of? That means you're a yes vote. That means you agree with the select board and you agree with the language of this article. If it's a no vote or you're against it, that means you do not agree and you do not want this article passed. Okay? We're going to go with the... I'm sorry? No, I want to make sure it's very clear, so I just couldn't hear what you asked me.
They said they didn't understand.
Oh, you didn't understand. I'm sorry. Yes. So they're both. You're voting to move forward in the direction of continuing to operate the landfill, but you will ultimately close the landfill in a certain number of years that's unspecified. Okay. So this is your voting in favor of its continued operation for a period of time while you put your plans together to close it. And that's a yes vote, okay? So you're voting to, once again, continue the operation of the landfill and to develop the plans for closure and funding. That's a yes. A no means you do not want to operate the landfill anymore now. You're done with the landfill. That's a no. Okay? Is that clear? Anybody not clear? Does anybody have any more questions in the back? I'm looking at the back. Not questions about that, questions about the vote. You have a question about the vote? Well, you ask me and I'll determine that. That has nothing to do with this. It's completely irrelevant. Okay, does everybody understand what they're voting for? Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads, so that's good. All right, so we're going to try this by cards. So if you are in favor of Article 2, you agree with Article 2, and it's a yes vote, please raise your cards. Okay, if you are against Article 2, and you are not in favor of Article 2, you vote no, raise your cards. Okay, the yeses have it by far. Vote passes. Okay. Article 3. Now we move on. We got to take care of the next article.
Because you just voted to keep it over.
Article 3 is a citizen petition article. Shall the voters of the town of Hartland direct the town municipal officers immediately no longer accept any waste from other industrial, commercial, or municipal entities, thereby temporarily reserving it for municipal use only, and begin the process of permanently closing the landfill facility located on Pleasant Street in order to protect the multiple ecosystems that sustain our lives, protect the property value blight, and most importantly, protect the citizens from current and potential future health hazards.
So moved.
Moved. And a second. Yep. 2 seconds. Great. So moved in a second. So this isn't. So this is a petition. Is this the petition that you gave at the town meeting? Okay, great. Was it worded exactly the same way? Yeah, great. Okay, so this is the petition, a citizen petition, so it's the same discussion. There's actually it's the same topic, right? It's the same landfill topic. And so now I'll ask if there are any comments or questions related to this. Similar questions that you may not have. Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those of you, so what you're voting for here is if you vote yes, you're voting to close the landfill immediately. Right?
No.
If you vote no,
It doesn't say
you're
that.
not.
It doesn't say that.
So it's the same question as before, just the other way around.
It does not say that.
So I hear rumblings. What did I say wrong? Oh, nothing. Okay. What? I'm not reading it right. What did I? Please correct me. I must have said something wrong. I didn't mean to. So please correct me.
It would be just for Hartland.
It would stay open,
Let's read it again, shall we? Maybe I misspoke, which is entirely possible. The petition says, shall the voters of the town of Hartland direct that the municipal town officers immediately no longer accept any waste from other industrial, commercial, or municipal entities, thereby temporarily reserving it for our use, our municipal use, so your use, Hartland's use, and begin the process of immediately closing the landfill facility located on Pleasant Street in order to protect the multiple ecosystems that sustain our lives, protect the property value of life, and most importantly, protect the citizens from current and potential future health hazards. Right, so it does say temporarily maintain it.
You just read one word.
Right.
You did say immediately, and it says permanently.
Right. The word is permanently, not
Permanently, sorry.
immediately.
Does not say immediately. So that's because.
It says immediately in the sentence before. Okay. So you're voting, a yes vote is to
Adopt the petition.
basically close the landfill
Eventually.
sooner than later. That's what you're voting for. Okay? So a yes vote is to close it, very soon. Yes, sir. Can you go to the mic, please?
No longer accept stuff from out of town. Doesn't say immediately close the landfill. At least that's the way I read it.
Well, actually it does, sir. It says immediately no longer accept waste, right, from the town. Industrial, commercial, and other municipal entities. So that could be industrial waste. I'm assuming, I don't know all the waste streams that you have in the landfill, but if there's industrial waste, commercial waste, or municipal waste, other than Hartland, the town of Hartland, then it would effectively stop those waste streams from being deposited in the landfill.
Right.
That's the first part. The second part then says to begin the process of permanently closing the landfill facility. So permanently closing the landfill means closing the landfill for everything, including Hartland waste. So once the landfill's closed, you can't continue to use the landfill. So that's what it's saying. Fair enough? Is that right? She wrote the petition, so let's ask her. She's acknowledging that that's what it says, what I just said.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator? I was the one that wrote that petition, and you're misconstruing the exact meanings of what the petition was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. That's what happens when you're in the very back. Way back.
That's what happens when you triple do.
Thank you for coming down.
Mr. Moderator, I'm the one that wrote the petition.
Okay.
You were misconstruing the entire thing as to what the meaning of it was meant to convey to the public. Could you please get somebody up there that could read that petition in the context as to how it was meant to be read? I would ask that Dana Callahan, be an independent person to read that for us, please. Thank you.
We already voted that Dana can't speak to the group, so it has to be somebody else, but I just asked Ms. Cooper, is that right? For your first name, I'm sorry. Debbie Cooper. Am I misrepresenting what's written here?
Oh, but
Immediately no longer accept any waste, and then begin the process of closing down. In other words,
Do you all agree you want somebody else to read the article to you? Okay, so nobody else is going to read the article, sir.
Make a motion to move the question now.
Okay.
Can I ask a question first?
Yep, he had his hand up before the second, so yes, sir. If you were up here, I would just repeat it, but I can't even hear you in the back. So
Pointless to keep on going if you can't read the damn thing right.
I'm Barry Noyce, going to town. I've just a question. When you say you're immediately closing the landfill, does that mean immediately the tannery can no longer use the landfill and the tannery will close?
No.
Yes, sir.
Does not say that.
Right.
I know they're not.
I'm assuming they're the industrial or commercial entity. Yeah, okay. Okay, does everybody know? Is already, the question is moved. Does everybody understand what they're voting for on this petition?
Second the motion.
Yes, I'll repeat it. Okay, so
Second the motion.
a yes vote on
Second the
this,
motion.
Motion's been seconded.
a yes vote is to immediately no longer accept waste and permanently close the landfill. Okay, now, correct? Debbie? Okay. No longer accept waste and immediately close the landfill, or permanently close the landfill now. So that would require borrowing the money that we talked about before and that stuff, right? Okay. Right, you can't immediately close. That's a good question. Very well worded, by the way.
you have to give brewer 30 days notice. Yeah, that's it.
Permanently closed because there's a process to permanently close. It takes, not like tomorrow, it takes 30 days or 60 days to start that process, okay? Okay. Yep, point of order, yes, sir.
In municipal use, does that not include?
I'm going to repeat it. He's asking me a point of order.
Not all.
Anything, it says, it basically says any waste. That's the way it's worded. So he was just pointing out, he was trying to clarify the same thing you were asking, so, about whether it was you know, town waste or other towns' waste, things like that. But it says any waste from other sources other than Hartland in the immediate time frame. Okay? Okay, so the yes vote is going to be to approve this article as written and immediately no longer accept waste and permanently close. So this is in a little different than the article before. You guys ready to vote? Okay, so you're going to hold your cards up. So those of you in favor, so it's a yes vote of immediate, in favor of Article 3, of immediately no longer accepting any waste and permanently closing the landfill, raise your cards. And keep them up. Don't let them down until I tell you to. Okay, those of you, sorry, thank you. Oh, sorry, I got it too. Did you get it? Okay. And those of you who are against Article 3, raise your cards. Keep them up.
I hope they choke him.
And those are going to win, but we're going to count.
The hell out of towns with we
Is that one of them? Yeah.
I hope they love eating that shit. We only had 48. We only had 48.
We had 42 in favor and 108 against. So Article 3 does not pass.
Yeah, I could miscount them.
And if I'm reading this right, correct me if I'm wrong, Article 4 is not needed because it's only if Article 3 passed, right? So Article 4 is not needed. We need to bring it on. 179. At least when they walked in. Some people have left. You can't see that, but some people left, some people. 179 voters in the room. No, ma'am, but it was on the same order. I didn't count them specifically. Approximately 25 against. The clerk counted approximately 25 against. It was more lopsided. Okay.
When you adjourn, can I address?
Motion to adjourn.
When you adjourn, may I address non-political information?
You can do what you want when we adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? A second. Is there any other business before this town? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Many of you know that next year the town turns 200 years old. I am the committee chair. I've been getting questions thinking we're not doing anything. We are. If you have any questions,